What I track is the natural experiments they absolutely explode the feminist explanation, because there are a few institutions out there without any gatekeepers. And so it allows you to test, the explanation for lack of 50-50 male-female is inevitably sexist discrimination. So let's look at the places with no gatekeepers. That's Wikipedia. Mm-hmm. The editors of Wikipedia, there's no barriers, there's no historical preference for Wikipedia.
I know where you're going with this, but it ends up being mostly men.
It's overwhelmingly male. Why? Because males, on average, and I'm not talking about your daughter, Ben Rubin, the Dave Rubin listener, she's going to be a Nobelist, but on average,
yes,
males are more interested in facts, in things, in ideas, in accuracy, in sports trivia, and they're the ones that want to get involved in that discourse.
Are you concerned that all of our institutions are going to succumb to this stuff? Like, it seems like everything's
They already have. No, it is not. I mean, we want to be optimistic.
Yeah, we're all pretending now. We're past that point.
Because I know you think that 2020 is going to be the year it all crashes apart.
Well, I think that
identity politics is self-defeating. It can't go any further. I wish I shared that view.
So I'm basically there. Well, what I think is going to really happen, not that it will ever burn out completely, because I think it is so psychotic in nature and unhinged from reality, but I think this election will cause it to have a necessary split. Mm-hmm. Something like that. So the split that we talked about earlier about the AOC and Biden should not be in the same party, I think enough people are going to fully realize that the social justice warriors will carve out whatever their thing is, and then the other sane people will have to decide, are we still Democrats or are we going to become Republicans? But yes, I don't know, will it crash to the point of that they're going to give up? Well, these people show no signs of ever giving up.
Well, again, I hate to sound apocalyptic, but this is a genetic thing. I know that I'm inclined towards that by definition, but it is impossible to overstate the power of the assault on meritocratic standards in our culture today. Colorblind, genderblind meritocratic standards. There's not a single institution that is not on the defensive. Mm-hmm. If it has any kind of achievement standard that has any kind of disparate impact that does not result in exact proportional representation, whether it's 50-50 males or females, or minority-based representation, any standard, whether it's in the STEM fields, in science, that does not result in that halcyon proportional representation is now under assault.
There might be some Christian private school, right, that has withstood some of this, something like that?
That's dedicated
or conservative,
to classics.
Maybe has fought some of it.
Yes, in fact, I mean, I'm always cheered on whenever I see a panel that's coming out of some think tank and it's all males. I think, one last one, And frankly, let's be honest. I mean, what I track is the natural experiments they absolutely explode the feminist explanation, because there are a few institutions out there without any gatekeepers. And so it allows you to test, the explanation for lack of 50-50 male-female is inevitably sexist discrimination. So let's look at the places with no gatekeepers. That's Wikipedia. Mm-hmm. The editors of Wikipedia, there's no barriers, there's no historical preference for Wikipedia.
I know where you're going with this, but it ends up being mostly men.
It's overwhelmingly male. Why? Because males, on average, and I'm not talking about your daughter, Ben Rubin, the Dave Rubin listener, she's going to be a Nobelist, but on average, males are more interested in facts, in things, in ideas, in accuracy, in sports trivia, and they're the ones that want to get involved in that discourse. Recently, we saw there was the historic matchup of the three greatest Jeopardy winners. They were all male. If you look at, I wrote about Scrabble championship. There's no barriers to entry for Scrabble. Like, all of the winners throughout history of a very short history have all been males.
So if we were to take this back to what we discussed earlier, where then the lefties would maybe look at a separate set of facts to explain that, they would say something like, well, it's because we teach boys to care more about math
Yeah.
or something like that. And
Yeah.
you would just say no, that there's biology before that.
Absolutely, absolutely. It turns out the most gender equal countries are the ones that have the biggest disparities in preference for professions.
Right. So this is the Sweden experiment. Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And again, this has not been the case for so long. We've had, again, strong females together. That has been the ethos of American education now for decades. It is just not possible to say that females are being discouraged from math. They are being encouraged at every single moment. That there's any male mathematicians is a miracle. It just shows how strong that imperative is at the extreme versions. Again, we all know the distribution curves. Males are the worst math dummies, but they are also at the highest end, the most math gifted.
Do you think that there's just a certain amount of cognitive dissonance that comes with a lot of this? Like, did you happen to see a couple weeks ago Stephen King sent out a tweet that he's against diversity in arts because, of course, you wouldn't want painters and authors and creative people to have some sort of diversity quota. But this guy's a lefty, progressive, the whole thing. And he's definitely for diversity quotas and all the other things, but not in arts. And I think it's partly because he's an artist.
Yeah.
So it's like, not in my field because we're creative and creativity should always rise to the top. But for you people, but in essence what he's saying is, well, doctors and pilots and the rest of it should be based on skin color and sexuality and blah, 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 but not artists because we're...
Hilarious. Well, I'll take it. I mean, if he's actually willing to defend the arts, because that is, I mean, anybody who subjects himself to the New York Times arts pages today, it's all it is. It's all it is diversity, female and people of color diversity. So his position, it may be a narrow one, but I'll take it because...
Right, because they're the kernels there at least, right? So then it's like maybe something can grow out of that.
Yes, but it's also, on the other hand, I really relish the fact that Hollywood is being pressed to sacrifice its best box office judgment for the gods of diversity. And are they they're absolutely torn. Which do they do? Do they choose to have female remakes, that may not be the box office sellers or may not be as good in order to placate the Oscar bean counting and the Golden Globe bean counting? Or do they just say, to hell with it, we're just going to tough it out? I don't know. But it's really great.
Yeah, what an interesting time to live in. So I sense you're pretty enthused about sort of the way the world is at the moment. Like everybody sort of everyone feels like it's crazy, it's never been worse, we hate each other more than ever before. I mean, I think all of that is nonsense anyway, and social media makes us all feel a little crazier.
Yeah.
But you seem to, even though this is serious stuff, I mean, you're talking about institutions all being infected, you got a smile on your face as you're talking to me.
Yeah, but it's a pleasure to have a fellow skeptic here. And I would say, to get back to an earlier question of yours, are we heading towards a point of no return, and how do we get back from this? This is the most difficult thing. The way we actually demolish identity politics, and again, the founding engine of this is disparate impact. We have to counteract the myth of bias. That as long as the only allowable explanation for socioeconomic disparities is the Ta-Nehisi Coates view of the world, the Michelle Alexander view of the world, that everything is driven by bias, the AOC world, they win.
But if we've lost the schools already, which I suspect you think we have,
of course
certainly at the college level, but even if we've lost
K through 12 ethnic
if
studies
we've lost
everywhere.
all of that, then suddenly this rosy picture gets a lot more murky, right?
Yes, I'm not a rosy person. All I know is the way we get it back is to start giving alternative explanations. And if people are terrified to talk about, there are behaviors, the education gap. I mean, what we see now, it's tragic. Your average black 12th grader reads at the level of your average white 8th grader.
Wow.
That is huge. 40% of black 8th graders on the National Assessment of Educational Progress, this is one of these national standardized tests, 40% of black 8th graders do not even have basic math skills. Basic is the most, it's, simple arithmetic. Those types of statistics make this expectation of proportional representation ludicrous.
Right.
And yet, the cowardice on the part of our mainstream institutions cannot be overstated.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.